This is Misha Houston, and I'm here to do my review of If Loving You Is Wrong. Tonight's episode is entitled Falling. And I have to say that this was a very strange episode, especially toward the end. Um, there were some parts that just started to anger me, and I'm just wasn't a fan of tonight's episode. I just wasn't. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't all that great either. And I'm just really, really waiting for the story to move on past some of these storylines. I'm just tired of the same old storylines. That's the problem with this show. It's just the same old, same old. And I'm ready for everyone to move in a different direction. And some characters are trying to move in a different direction. But I'm just ready for all of this to be over. Some of this drama has been going on since episode one, and I'm just ready for it, to progress and to move on from it. And there needs to be a resolution to some of these storylines, and that's really what I'm waiting for. Hopefully, this is the season where they finally start to resolve some of these issues. And that's pretty much all that I'm waiting for. I love the characters and I love the premise of the show, but I'm just ready for a little bit more progression and for things to carry on and to send people in different directions instead of the same old track that they've been on for years now. So that's pretty much my overview comment, and I'm just hoping for better next week. Here we go. The first group of people we go to is Randal, the medics, Lucian, Stephen, and Brad. Randal is in his rocking chair being examined by the medics. Nothing is broken, and he has the strength to stand on his own 2 feet. He just got the wind knocked out of him. He, tells the medics that that bastard next door, Brad, pushed him off of the ladder, and he wants to talk to the police. The medics ask him, "Are you sure that you don't want to go to the hospital?" And Randal says no, he's okay. The medics tell him that you should go to the hospital if you're experiencing any pain. And Randal says okay. Then Lucian and Stephen come, and Randal immediately knows that Lucian won't care what Brad has done to him. He says that he wanted the real police, not these Keystone cops. They ask what is going on here, and Randal, doesn't want to answer them. He eventually tells them that Brad knocked him off the ladder. Then Lucian, immediately goes and asks him, "What did you do to him?" And then Randal lies. He lies to them and says that he was just minding his own business. And Brad came along and pushed him off of his ladder. Lucian does not believe it, and of course it's not true, and he believes that he provoked him into doing it. He asked Randal multiple times, "Are you sure you didn't do anything to provoke him?" And Randal says no, he didn't. He was minding his own business, and that Brad pushed him off of the ladder. And he fell, around 45 feet. Lucian really could care less about any of this, but he goes over to talk to Brad anyway, while Stephen stays with Randal. Stephen asks if he is hurt, and Randal says, "Yeah, my ass. Do you want to see it?" Randal, all Randal really wants from him is a police report so he can give to his lawyer so he can file a lawsuit. At Brad's, Lucian comes in and they talk about what happened. Brad says that he's, driving us crazy. He admits that he did push him off of the ladder and explains, that Randal, provoked it. Brad says that Randal put a camera slash motion detector on his own porch and faced it toward his front door. So he would always know when they come and go, from their house. He also was going to put a floodlight, facing the bedroom. Lucian says what Brad did was assault and he could be arrested for that. Lucian, pretty much advises him to lie about what happened just to keep him out of prison. He's not going to arrest anyone. Lucian has developed a habit of not arresting anyone. Then they both, go outside and they talk to Randall, and Randall wants Brad arrested, but Lucian refuses to do so. Brad lies and says that he didn't do anything to Randall, but but Randall says that there is proof on the camera that there's proof on the camera that Brad stole from him. Lucian says that he never saw a camera. He's lying, obviously. Everyone's lying in this scene. And he tells Randall to stop doing things to people, and people will stop doing things to him. And then Lucian, advises them both to stop this before someone gets hurt. And Randall says that someone has already been hurt. He has been hurt, which is true. Randall has gotten hurt, and so has his mother. But apparently, there will be no arrest made. Lucian, just refuses to arrest anybody. There hasn't been any arrest since what happened down by the lake, and he just pretty much tells him that he's sorry. Lucian, tells Brad to go home, and Randall threatens to get a lawyer to file a lawsuit against Brad, and that he's going to take the law into his own hands. Lucian says that that would be a bad idea, but Randall, leaves, as does Brad, and Lucian and Steven leave as well. Lucian says that he's seen this before and it only gets worse. And this is what I'm talking about with Lucian. If you know things are going to get bad, why aren't you doing anything about it? It's getting bad, people are getting hurt, and he hasn't arrested anyone. He hasn't arrested anyone since what happened down by the lake. It's like that whole time, that whole mess down by the lake never happens. And he has not made one arrest, since then. And he is just, I mean, I don't understand what it is, how they're writing Lucian. If he knows things are going to get bad, why is he just lollygagging? Why isn't he making some sort of an arrest? He's not arresting anyone for anything that they've done. Um, the next group of people we go to is Eddie, Lucian, Stephen, Brad, Alex, and the baby. Eddie drives up to Brad's house and he is nude. Lucian berates him for being nude in public. And Eddie, could care less. I mean, Eddie has just broken the law by being naked in public, and he doesn't arrest him. He doesn't arrest anybody for the crimes that they are committing. He's just letting it go. And it's only getting worse and worse. He berates him for being nude in public, but Eddie could care less. Brad tells him to come on in the house, and once he is in the house, Brad gives Eddie some clothes. Now outside, Steven and Lucian are in the car, and they get a call on their police radio saying that there were shots fired at a certain address, and they go off to that address. Now inside of the house, Eddie tells Brad that Esperanza took shots at him. Eddie says that he needed a bath and he couldn't go home. Brad says since that it is her house, she has a right to shoot. Eddie says that it is his house too because he's paying the mortgage. And seeing as he's also paying the mortgage, he has a right to do as he pleases. And that, and on that, I agree with Eddie. I agree with Eddie on that. If he's paying the mortgage, if his name is on the deed, then it's his house too. If Esperanza wants him out of that house, then she needs to pay her own bills, and she needs to get his name off of the deed. But as long as he's paying, I agree with Eddie. He has a right to be in that house if he wants to. I mean, I just think that in that aspect, he is right and Esperanza is wrong. She needs to pay her own bills or move out of that house and into an apartment or another house that's cheaper so she can afford it. But she can't expect for him not to visit a house that he owns and that he's paying for. But, you know, Eddie says that he thought that Esperanza was so cute with the gun in her hand and that she is a very good shot. Brad says that she must not be a good shot since she missed. Then they talk about Brad moving in with Alex. He asks, Brad asked him, "How did you know that I was here?" And then Eddie says that he ran his plates. Brad is appalled by that, but he he tells him that he pretty much doesn't care. Then he asks, "Are you going to really move in with this hoe?" And then Brad, he obviously gets offended and he doesn't want anyone to call her that. But Eddie says, since I mean, if you spread your legs for every man on the block, that is what you are called. Brad does admit that he is moving back in with Alex. Then Eddie asks him, "Is that thing Randall moving? Is that thing Randall still living next door?" And Brad says yes. Eddie, doesn't know how he can put up with that. And then he asks him, "Are you gonna stay here and raise Lucian's baby?" Brad said that he doesn't think that it is Lucian. He doesn't think that it is Lucian's child, and Eddie makes racist jokes about black babies and fried chicken. Brad just wants him to leave, but Eddie asks him to stay for a while. Brad refuses to let him stay even for one night. Then Eddie asks for a credit card, and Brad gives it to him, saying that he's going to need to pay it back. Then Eddie sees the cameras on the coffee table, and he congratulates Brad for keeping tabs on Alex. Ed says that that is a good move on your part because she's proven that she can't be trusted. Eddie then asks for some shoes, and Brad gives him some shoes. Then Alex comes home. Eddie speaks to Alex, saying that, "Oh, I've been waiting to see this beige baby for quite a while now." She slaps him openly in the face and tells him, "Don't you dare go near my son. And when you point a gun in my face, you better be prepared to pull the trigger." Eddie said he's always prepared to pull the trigger. And then Eddie, asks her, "How is mom and pop?" Referring to Rusty and Virginia. Brad tells him to go, and then he thanks Brad for the clothes and for the shoes and the credit card. Then he says, "Bye bye, little beige baby. See you soon." And then he slams the door. And that's the end of that scene. And as I said before, a couple of episodes back, I do appreciate Eddie's writing. I think whoever is writing for him is very creative. I do appreciate his character, even though he is unsavory. The next group we go to is Alex, Brad, and the baby. Alex wants to know why Eddie was there, and Brad says that he needed some clothes. Brad apologizes to her for him being there and doesn't, want to go into some big explanation why. Alex understands and knows that it is not his fault. Alex asks, "Do you have some clothes here now?" And Brad says yes. Alex is very pleased by this. Then she sees the light and the camera on the coffee table and she asks, "What is this all about?" Brad says that they belong to Randall and he took the camera and the light from him after he pushed him off of a ladder. She asks if he called the police and Brad says yes. Randall did call for the police and Lucian stopped it and handled it. Brad says that the camera let Randall know that, that they were leaving the house so he could always be outside to harass them. And she asks that if it is even legal for him to have a camera, pointed at their house. And Brad says, yes, it is legal. And it is legal. It's not illegal for them, for anyone to have a camera on their porch. It's completely legal. In some cases, it's even warranted because if you're living in a bad neighborhood, you can film your front door. Alex realizes that the baby needs to be changed, and she goes to go and change him. But before she can leave, Brad asks her, "What did the doctor say?" And then Alex nervously says that she will tell him everything after she's changed the baby. You can really tell by her body language and the look and the scared look in her eye and her fidgeting and how nervous she was in that scene that she's about to lie to him. She's about to lie to him all over again about the parentage of that baby. She hasn't learned anything. She's lying to him again. And in the preview, she is lying to him. So nothing has really changed with her. When the truth is inconvenient, Alex has no objection to lying. She can't tell the truth even to her own husband. It's really sad. And but then again, I have to say this before I move on. I don't really feel sorry for Brad because he knew who she was. He knew how she lies, and he continued to take her back anyway. So even though she's lying to him, I don't really have that much sympathy for him anymore. The next two people we go to is Natalie and Kelly, a short scene. At Natalie's, Kelly is talking to her boss on the phone. Her boss is upset, and Kelly is worried about keeping her job. The bank is very conservative, and they wouldn't want to be involved in any kind of a scandal. Natalie thought that Kelly shouldn't have told her boss, but Kelly said that it is the best thing to tell the truth now and not cover it up. Then Kelly gets a call, but the caller doesn't answer. It's most likely Travis. That they both think that it's Travis, and Natalie tells her that maybe she needs to change her phone number. Then the phone rings again, and Natalie takes it. She takes the phone and then she starts to curse out the caller. But the caller is Ian, Kelly's lawyer. And he is telling her that it is okay for her to go home because the police has done with her house and done searching it. The next two people we go to is Marcy and Larry. Now, before I go on, I want to talk a little bit about Larry. His motives doesn't seem all that pure anymore. And you can really see it later on in the episode, but there's just something about Larry that just doesn't sit right with me. But he is Marcy's lawyer. He's representing her, and we're going to have to see what his true motivation is later on. She goes into Larry's office, and he sees that she is glowing, and he says that the divorce looks good on her. Marcy gets excited thinking that Randal has signed for the divorce, and she is adamant about getting that divorce. But Larry says that he has not signed yet, but he is working on it. Marcy asks, "How long is this going to take?" And Larry answers, "Maybe, a few months from now." Marcy gets upset and says that I can't hide this for a few months. I don't have a few months. I can't hide this forever. Larry asks, "What are you talking about? What are you trying to hide?" And Marcy eventually tells him that she is pregnant. She says that Randal doesn't know about the pregnancy and is trying to get the divorce now. Randal is the father and he doesn't know a thing, and she doesn't want him to know. She is also after sole custody and wants to put that on the divorce decree. But Larry tells her in order to get sole custody, he would have to know, about the baby and about the pregnancy. Larry asks her, "Can't you just tell him that you're pregnant?" And Marcy says, "No, he's nothing but a bastard." Then she goes back to when those two, the two men were in college and drinking and chasing women together, and apparently Larry knows how he can be. She says that she can't tell him right now because she's afraid that he'll become even more of an asshole. Larry, then says that he is willing to try to go, out with him for drinks and to try to convince him to sign. And he will call her afterwards to tell her what he has said. He warns her that if he finds out that he will demand a paternity test, she, says that she may have to leave town altogether. Larry asks, is that what you really want? And Marcy replies, no. No, I don't want that. I don't want to lose my business, and my life is here in Maxine. Larry says that he will give her a call, but Marcy implores him to tell him that she wants a divorce, and then she also begs him not to tell him about the pregnancy, and Larry promises that he won't tell. They shake hands, and she leaves. The next three people we go to is Lucian and Esperanza. Stephen and Lucian go over to Esperanza's house, and she confesses that Eddie was here in her shower, and she admits to trying to kill him. Lucian, is very upset by this, while Stephen offers to give her shooting lessons. Lucian, tells her that you could have gotten into a lot of trouble for this, but Esperanza could care less. She berates them by saying that she is trying to get him out of her life and they aren't doing anything to help her. I mean, she needs to help herself. She needs to help herself with this. She needs to pay her own bills and get his name off the deed. That's the way to get him out. She admits again that she shot at him, but she was truly trying to scare him and to put him out of the house. Lucian asks her not to ever do anything like this again, and Esperanza agrees. She asks them, why is he out of jail? What is he doing here? But Lucian and Stephen refuse to tell her anything, and she says that she will find out on her own. Lucian says again that he wants no more gunshots and that someone could have been hurt. Someone could have been hurt who was walking by and they could have been hit by a stray bullet. And Esperanza says, I hear you and it won't happen again. Lucian says thank you and then he goes to leave. Stephen then asks, are you trying to fix the bullet holes in the wall? And Esperanza says, yes, I'm trying. Stephen then offers to fix it for her. Lucian then says, well, you can handle that and I'm going to leave for lunch and I'll be back in an hour. Stephen takes off his jacket and they get started. Now, as far as Esperanza and Stephen go, we already know where this is going. I know she was going to try to sleep with him. She's very desperate and she's making erratic moves for herself, trying to get Eddie out of her life. But let me say this. Stephen, to me, isn't that much different from Eddie. He is Caucasian, he has black hair, he's tattooed, he's attractive, and he's a bad boy. All of those aspects that Stephen has, Eddie has them too. It seems to me that she's just trading one Eddie for another. I mean, he just seems like a poor man's version of Eddie. So it doesn't really make sense for her to keep throwing Eddie out of her life if she's attracted to the same kind of man. I mean, they're exactly alike. I mean, he is just as manipulative as Eddie, and I don't trust him. So why is she, glomming and grafting herself onto someone else when the same person she's trying to, attach herself to is just like Eddie? She's just trading one Eddie for another. And as far as Lucian goes, he doesn't make an arrest. He is complaining about this behavior, but he's doing nothing about it. He's not making any arrest. Esperanza shot at Eddie, and he doesn't arrest her. Eddie was nude in public, but he doesn't arrest him. Randal, was making a lot of noise and disturbing the peace, but he doesn't arrest him. He knows what happens down by the lake and that Alex set the whole thing up, but he doesn't arrest her. And he knows that Brad pushed Randall off of that ladder and he doesn't arrest him. All these crimes are being committed and Lucian is doing nothing about it. Yet he complains about Eddie being a dirty cop, a cop, that is skirting the law. But it seems to me that Lucian is just being hypocritical because he's doing the exact same thing. He's picking and choosing which laws to obey and which laws to ignore. So, what is really the difference between Eddie and Lucian? Lucian is starting to look like a hypocrite to me. And it's really sad that they're writing him this way. They're writing him so terribly. I mean, it's a shame that they're cheapening his character by having him constantly cover up someone else's crimes and misdeeds. But that's the way the story is written. Okay. The next two people we go to is Kelly and Natalie. They are at Kelly's, and Kelly is seeing everything, you know, that is going on in her house. Everything is broken and upturned and disheveled, and she, remarks on the state of her house and how one bad choice can ruin everything in her life. She says that everything was so much better before Travis, which is true. Natalie assures her that she will get everything back on track and she won't let anything ruin her life. Kelly says that she could lose everything, her job, and wonders how she's going to pay for her home and for her son and everything that they need. Natalie thinks that she should just explain it to her people, her job, that someone is after her, to her bosses at her job, that someone is after her and that someone is abusing her. But Kelly explains that this will be in the paper and that the bank is conservative and they want no part of a scandal. But I think that the bank will understand. Even if the bank is conservative, you're a conservative bank in a scandalous world. Bad things happen, and I think that the bank will understand in time. It would be really, really silly writing if she were to lose her job over someone abusing her. I mean, it's ridiculous. But I mean, who knows how the story is going to be written later on in the future. Natalie says that she will get through this, and Kelly hopes so. They get back to cleaning, and then Kelly says that I'm not going to let him do this. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this or how I'm going to stop him, but I'm not going to let him do this. The next two people we go to is Stephen and Esperanza. They are trying to patch up the bullet holes and he has plugged them up as best he could. And she comes in with a hair dryer and is standing on a ladder trying to dry them. Stephen has his hand on her hip and he's looking very comfortable. He likes what he sees, he likes what he's touching, and she doesn't tell him to move his hand. He can't keep his eyes and his hands off of her bottom. He says that all she has to do is sandpaper it and paint over it. Essie asks him, "Where did you learn how to do all this?" And Stephen responds, "My old man taught me." Esperanza asks, "Was he a professional carpenter?" And Stephen says he was more of a bootleg one. He goes for the sand and the paint, and he drops it all on the floor accidentally. She, tells him to take off his shirt and pants and so she can get them clean again. He doesn't want to, but she is determined and she reaches for his pants. And as she does so, he, gets aroused. He gets a hard on. He apologizes, but he confesses that she turns him on. Eventually, he goes to the bathroom and she follows him in there. She follows him in there as he is getting undressed. He apologizes again, and he asks her, "Are you sure that this will come out?" And she says, "Yes, it will." He says thank you, and then he jumps in the shower, and she says you're welcome, and she stands there and watches him. As I said before, we all know where this is going, and it doesn't seem like she's making a better choice for herself by sleeping with Stephen. The next two people we go to is Larry and Randall, and this is a very, very weird scene between those two. And then I remember looking back at the episode when they were first talking, and I thought that they were very friendly together, a little too friendly, but I didn't really think that much of it. But now you can really tell that there's something else going on here, and that he is, asking to go out with Randall, not for Marcy's sake, but for, his own. Oh, okay, here we go. Randall calls Larry, wanting to sue his neighbor Brad for pushing him off of the ladder. Larry says that he will help him out with the lawsuit if he has drinks with him tonight. Randall doesn't want to, but Larry is insistent about it. Randall asks, "Are you still representing Marcy?" And Larry says, "Yes." Randall says that I am not coming to meet you for drinks. Larry says I am not suing, I'm not going to help you sue your neighbor until you have drinks with me. Randall asks, "Why do you want to have drinks?" And Larry says that he wants to catch up with his old friends. Randall says, if you're repping my wife, if you're still representing my wife, then you're not my friend. Larry says that it is not personal, that I'm just trying to do what is best for two old friends. Randall says that you are not my friend and I am not going to sign. Larry says that and the kids are out of town and he wants to meet. Now, if there are any fans of Greenleaf, you know that there is a character on Greenleaf named Charity Greenleaf, and she has a husband who is struggling with his sexuality and struggling to try to get out of the closet. And that's kind of what I think is going on here. I think that Larry is in the closet hiding his sexual orientation from his wife and his children. And I think he has some sort of an attraction to Randall. I mean, I may be wrong about that, but who knows? Larry insists on meeting Randall, saying that he wants to get drunk and talk crap to each other. And he promises that he won't mention the divorce. Randall, still says no. Larry says that if you don't want to come out with me, then I'm going to come over to your house. Larry says that you should be happy that I'm involved in this and I can help you settle. But Randall, is not interested in settling, excuse me. Larry says that she doesn't really want anything. She doesn't want any money or any of his properties. She just wants, the signature. And Larry insists on coming out with him, but Randall, just hangs up. And as I said before, there's something going on with Larry, and I think it's so much more than him trying to help out Marcy. But who knows? The last group of people we go to is Esperanza, Stephen, and Eddie. Stephen comes out of the bathroom and he apologizes again for his hard on. He tells Esperanza that he can't help it, that he finds her attractive. He says that he said that he knew that she was beautiful and sexy, but he didn't know how much. She says, "Oh, you think I'm sexy?" And he says yes. Then she compliments him on his attractiveness, saying that she had no idea what was going on underneath those suits and his uniform. He says thank you. Then she hops up on the kitchen island and they start, flirting with each other. She says that she has trouble with her thighs and I guess she feels like it's an area of her body that she's not pleased with, but apparently Steven has no complaints. He tries to get close to her, but she pushes him away. Steven knows that she is attracted and that she was watching him while he was in the shower. She tries to deny it, but apparently he knows the truth of the situation. They end up kissing, and then he hops up on the kitchen island with her. They are kissing and they're on top of each other and they're enjoying themselves. And then it is seen that Eddie is peeking through the window. And the last thing we see is him breaking down the door. And that is where our episode ends. Thank you so much for watching my review. The next episode will be entitled Something is Rotten. And there are certainly some things rotten on this show. There's no truer title and no better title than that one. So come back next week for my review of the next episode. My MVP is Marcy because she's trying to she's doing everything she can to get Randal out of her life. So for that reason, I've made her my MVP. Come back next week for the next episode, and if you like my video, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will be back next week for the next episode. Enjoy your life as I do, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much.